Welcome to the All Axxess Entertainment Podcast. It is overtime. I am your host, Joseph Bruin, here with special guest Steve Taylor. Steve, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Overtime, what it's all about. We throw a couple names at you, and you kind of, first thing that comes to mind, share some memories or whatever it may be. We're going to start with Linda McMahon.
Linda was awesome. She was the real brains behind the business sense. And she was worked great with Vince, as Vince was a creative guy who came up with all the creativeness and the energy, but Linda was also the one that kept the company alive, budget wise and kind of tempered Vince to what we can do and what we can't do. Because, in the early days, there wasn't a lot of money and took a lot of chances. And Linda, I think, held the company together. And she was, I respected her a lot for her business sense. She had a great mind to her, and she was fun to work with. And very, very tough when she had to be, but nice when the rest of the time.
Yeah. So. Next up would be the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Randy, I mean, you mentioned his name, you automatically in your head go, oh yeah. I loved working with Randy. He was one of my favorites. He spent a lot of time in the studio with us, and Liz would also put Liz in there, and they would hang out. And I just enjoyed his character. I loved his energy. He had a great gimmick. He very professional, and he just always on, always Randy, and he was a big part of the success of the wrestling, and awesome to take pictures of. I mean, my gosh, his outfits and everything, and he knew his gimmick. He knew it well. It was great.
And somebody who worked behind the scenes for WWF and the XFL, Mr. Basil DeVito.
Basil was great. It was when I was moving up the corporate ladder, it was Basil and Dick Glover. They were the real Vince's right-hand man on the business end of it. Basil was great. Basil, I worked with Basil closely with the XFL. And when the XFL was up and coming, there was a big debate of who was going to be doing production. Was it going to be in-house production? Would it be handled by Titan Television and our production, or would it be done by an outside company? And Basil was the president, and so we worked closely with them. So I worked closely on the design phase of what they were doing and the startup of the league. And I was involved with. They decided to go a different route with an outside company to do stuff, and they leaned on me heavily to get my input and to help them say, all right, this is who you have to talk to at the WWE to get this done. Because I was their sounding board, so I was involved in that, and that was a fun project. I think it could have worked. It was a good shot, and I think if it wasn't on NBC and it had built slowly, and it rose up too fast and expectations were too high, but it was definitely fun to do something different other than wrestling.
Yeah,
Basil was the man. Yep.
Yeah, the 6'10" Big John Studd.
John. A gentle giant. Another person that when you meet, you go, wow. His physical appearance was just great, and very soft spoken. Great worker in the ring, great gimmick, and just a really nice guy. I mean, no big ego to him, no big problem. You want to take pictures of him, a gentle giant.
Yeah. One of the celebrities who really made a positive impact in pro wrestling, Mr. T.
Mr. T was fun. I spent a lot of time with him and Hulk, of course, doing all the photos leading up to and all the vignettes we were doing, and we spent a lot of time hanging out in LA, going to dinner with Mr. T and Hulk, and that was, of course, fun on my part that I'm sitting in a really nice restaurant in LA, and there's Mr. T on one side, Hulk on the other, and some other people, and it's just like he was he was really Mr. T. He was a character. He had a good sense of humor, uh, fun to work with, very photogenic, and he understood still photography or what we needed to get done. So if I had to ask him to do this or let's do this again, pose what he did it. He was fun. He's definitely a cartoon character that, like I said before, could come to life with like other ones. It was like Lou Albano. They're cartoon characters and real people. It was great.
One of the great tag teams in pro wrestling, Axe and Smash, the Demolition.
They were awesome. I enjoyed working with those guys. Another group, a couple of very professional guys, great workers in the ring. I loved their gimmicks with the makeup. Uh, Always there for photo shoots. Very photogenic, very professional, and put on some great matches. They were great workers. And at your last Fan Fest, I came as a fan to, and it's nice seeing those guys. It's been a long time since I saw those guys, and great to see them. They're doing well.
How did that interaction go? Were they excited to see you after all that time? And
It was fun. I had fun a lot of because no one knew I was coming, so I was surprised a lot of people, and they were like Hacksaw, Jim Duggan. Holy crap, Steve Taylor, and Tito. I saw Tito, and I did a lot of stuff with Tito. It was really nice to surprise these guys, and I was honored that they remembered me because I've been gone a long time. But I did a lot of work with those guys, and it was fun, and then to surprise them, and that was fun. Like I said, to go to one of your fan fests and be a fan for once, and to walk around and be a part of that excitement, and see all these guys that I worked with in the early days, and people lined up to still meet them to sign pictures, and a lot of them were my pictures,
Right.
But I took, so that was like, hey, I took that picture, it's cool. It's fun, good times.
The man heading production, Kevin Dunn.
Kevin, Kevin, Kevin was the genius behind Titan Television. I mean, no one was better at doing television than Kevin. I mean, and Kevin, he was right there next to Vince. I mean, he was really number two man. Personality-wise, like everyone else, I think I had a number of run-ins with Kevin, but I was production. Kevin was TV production. So the two, when they met, and everything was fine. It was a great relationship. When TV wanted to do something that didn't work production-wise, we would butt heads. So we butt heads often, but he was dedicated. I mean, he started as a kid. I met him when he down at Video One when we used to do the tapings down there for TNT. And the old story, I guess he used to bring coffee to his dad back in the Allentown to Hamburg day. So Kevin went from a guy bringing coffee to executive producer of television. I mean, he really was a genius. He was the man that pulled everything together. He demanded a lot of respect from people, and he got it. And I think he should get a ton of credit for making. I just loved all the stuff we did, the openings and on all the side shoots that we did with with David the Sahadi and those guys. That's great television. The openings. That's when I first started watching, when I got the offer to go to the WWE back then, I turned on the old New York City station, and the production were pretty weak and stuff. And you look at the slick product it is today, it's as good as, if not better than, the NBA or NFL or anything. They're good. Yeah. Great TV. Well done.
Then you have the 501-pound mighty Yokozuna.
I didn't do a lot with Yoko, but he was a nice guy. He did a couple of things like Intrepid and all that stuff, but he was fun, a nice guy. And he comes from that family history. That whole family, that line is just amazing, of the superstars that they've produced. It's quite impressive.
How about the walking condominium, King Kong Bundy?
King Kong was another just big man that when you talk to him, you had such a good personality. You
Yeah.
know, he was funny. He was delightful to be around. Very talented, great gimmick, great look for wrestling, and uh, very, very low key and fun. It's nice to see guys like that. That you got a chance to know that they were intense in the ring, and then you see him at a bar or see him out and they'd hang out and talk to you. It's nice. Nice to see two sides of people like that.
Up
Very
next, we have
professional.
Outback Jack.
Outback Jack was, I don't know if you know the whole story about the vignettes with Outback Jack. They were wanted to bring in Outback Jack, and they bring him out, take off in the crocodile Dundee character. And for some reason, I still don't know why, Vince decided that they wanted to do some vignettes in Australia in the real outback. And for some reason, Vince thought that myself and Tim White were the two people to do it. And we were like, "You want us to do what?" And Kevin Dunn, I'm sure, was going, "What do you say these two jabronis down there for?" And so we were in charge of going down. We flew down to Australia and met Outback Jack, and we did all those vignettes up in the Outback. And it's hilarious stories of doing that. Jack was a character. We were really in the outback. Those were real alligators, and we were two guys who Tim knew wrestling. I knew photography. We had a camera crew, and him and I were producing and directing these pieces. And they were completely. We had a little script of what we to do, but a lot of it was off the cuff. And there's another picture of that. When we were done, we did a little thing for Vince on. They said, "Hey, Vince, just hope you like what we did." You know, and it picked Tim and I, and we're wearing ties in the Outback,
Wow.
which was back in those days was a policy of the World Wrestling Federation. You wore your tie everywhere we went. So we told Vince we wore our ties. We're drinking beer, and they were actually pretty good vignettes. They were. We had a ball doing it. I don't know why we did it. Vince, I guess, liked them, but then again, Tim and I were never asked to do anymore. So
Yeah.
I think that was kind of self-explanatory, but it was a great opportunity to be a television director for a week.
Yeah.
That's how
Absolutely.
long I lasted, by the way, a week.
And that was actually the next name on my list was Tim White, the late great Tim White.
Sweetest guy I ever met. I mean, he was just funny, hard worker, great referee, great. Him and Mike Breen were one of the ring crew guys when I first started. They were just laugh a minute, loved what they did, hardworking. Uh, Tim, of course, then became Andre's confidant and manager to on the road manager, and great times down at the Friendly Tap, and just the nicest, sweetest guy you ever want to meet. I loved him. I really, really missed him. He was a wonderful man.
The King of Hearts, Owen Hart.
Oh, it was awesome. He was another one that died tragically too early, but he was a fun person to be around. He was always doing the ribs and when constantly doing stuff and making jokes and a fun guy to be around. Another awesome talent.
Yeah. Hawk and Animal, Legion of Doom.
I worked a little bit with those guys, not an awful lot. They were near the tail end of my stuff. Very talented, great gimmick. Knew their stuff. Good guys.
Kerwin Silfies, the director.
Kerwin, I interacted with Kerwin a lot, and because he was always directing. He did a lot of the shoots that we did, the location shoots. Kerwin was there. Here, Kerwin was another one that really knew television. He was a wonderful director, and I don't think people understand unless you've already sat in a truck to watch what a director does at calling shots, and especially live television. Uh, That's a lot of pressure on that. You know, you're telling this camera to get ready and take this camera, and you're trying to tell a story. You have to know what's going on. You got people talking in this ear, people talking in that ear, and you're talking to somebody else. Uh, and the pressure of the tape shows is a lot. But you can, if you made a mistake, you can go edit it. But on a live show, you can't. Like Vince used to say, uh, there's no mistakes in live television. If you messed up, it meant to happen, and that's what happened. and you roll with it. You cover it, and you go from there. And Kerwin was great at doing that. He was great at live television, and he was definitely a career person there. It was sad when he passed away, but
Yeah.
he was a good man, a fun guy.
Yeah.
And like I said, I enjoyed working with him, and I had to get every now and then I would get called to the truck. Normally when you hear over the headset, "Hey, Steve Taylor, come to the truck," usually wasn't a good sign.
Not good.
But yeah, I would have to go and talk to them, but it was good.
Another behind the scenes employee. I'm not sure if you've had interactions with him, but the late great Rex Lardner.
Never did much with Lex. Nope. I was gone. I didn't know a lot of people in the office. Um, it was I was I was on the road all the time. I was a road person. I was the guy that they talked about, they knew, but I would miss a lot of meetings. I would show up in meetings in jeans and sneakers, and everyone else in a suit, but I was in the middle of working, and I was I did more personal appearances in the office than actually worked in it. So I didn't interact with a lot of people who were office people.
Sure. Oh, the Ultimate Warrior.
Another intense person. He was well, he changed his name to Warrior. That should tell it all. He really believed his character, and that's who he was. And it wasn't his in work ring was good, but he was more of a gimmick. But making great pictures.
Yeah.
He had a great personality to photograph, and it was good.
Another person we touched on briefly in episode 2, The Undertaker.
Wonderful gimmick, and wonderful talent. I mean, he is well known in becoming the leader of the boys, the locker room king, and deservedly so. He was very professional. That I had my doubts, like I said before, of the Undertaker gimmick working, but it was like, wow, it was awesome. It was the opening there with the bell and his in-ring work, and Buried Alive, and his interviews with Paul Bearer. Just great television, great talent.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Didn't work a lot with Dusty. I mean, but he was a legend, and it was fun when I did, and it was fun just listening to him talk because everyone imitated him. So when you saw him in real life and he's doing his Dusty Rhodes imitation, it was fun. He was a very talented person, and another great wrestling family that he produced and came from, and a legend.
Yeah. And then a wrestler turned commentator, Lord Alfred Hayes.
Tom actually shared an office with Lord Alfred Hayes over at the TV studio. I interacted with Lord Alfred when we did TNT and stuff like that. He was funny. He was another great person for wrestling history and knowing stuff. And he just had that. He played his character. I don't think it was real character. I think he really was Lord Alfred Hayes. He carried himself like that in the office, and the accent and the way he was, and great guy too. Really wonderful person.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold, I wish I had done more with when I was in my photography days, because he was just one of the best. All those gimmicks and his work with the microphone and the ring is just matched up perfectly. The excitement when he would come into the ring. I mean, even if I wasn't ringside, I would still doing production. I would go out for his entrances just to feel that excitement, and to watch him ring. And then his interviews, the stuff he comes out of his head. Like some of it was scripted, some of it was put up there, but I think a lot of it was just so much off him. With Austin 316 and great stuff, great classic days.
Yeah. David Sahadi.
Genius, putting this stuff together. It was fun watching him to work. He was a real creative person. The openings and stuff that he would come up with and all this stuff. I think he was just really well. I don't know how his mind worked to come up with all this stuff. He knew television. He knew how to make things, edit the work. He knew how to produce things camera wise, and Very, very, very talented person. Awesome. And another nice guy to work with. Fun.
And a gentleman who worked in the merchandising department was also an on-air ring announcer as well, Bill Dunn.
Bill was great. Bill was fun to work with. And Bill, like you said, awesome ring announcer, and he had another side job. Even though those guys like, the ring crew guys, we set up the merchandise and then go out and be a ring announcer. He was one of the classic ring announcers. He did a lot of the house shows. I mean, very, very professional. He was, like Mike McGurk and Killer Ken, Resnick. Those guys, they they were the voice of not only some television stuff, but the live events, and they did a great job. They were very talented people, all of those guys. And
John Cena.
John Cena, I worked very little with John. I did not know John. That was, like I said, he really coming up as I was out of photography, and I enjoyed watching him stuff. I never interacted with him. I heard so many good things about him from the other photographers, the people he worked with, and professionalism, and of course, like you said, the Make-A-Wish stuff. Just a tremendous person, and great gimmick is all his stuff, and great, enjoyable talent to watch work.
How about Richie Posner in props and magic?
Magic, that whole department with they called the magic department. Richie, uh, he was a magician. I mean, the stuff that they would put together that Vince would want to do, or the writers would want to do, Richie would go back to his little magic area with his assistants. Nick Daw, who's I worked with Nick and Dave Daw, the brothers. Dave worked a lot in production side. Awesome guy. Just awesome to work with. And then Nick came in, and Nick, I believe, is still with them doing stuff. And it's just, there's so behind the scenes, because it is, even what they do is still kayfabe, even though there's no kayfabe. I think some of it is kayfabe. Those are the guys that made it happen. Richie was fun. He was, and my kids were on. They used to go with me on the road. Either they wanted to hang out with the pyro guys because they blew stuff up, or they wanted to hang out with the magic people because they did stuff. And Richie would entertain them and have them doing stuff and glue guns. And the kids have awesome memories of Richie, that's for sure. He's very talented.
We got three names left. A gentleman who worked in merchandising, Jimmy Miranda.
Jimmy Miranda, another of the original people who was just so good at what he did. Jimmy knew merchandise, Jimmy knew people. He was a real people person. Just a great guy. And then, like I always go back to those old days of, we were a close-knit group, and it's that group of, the Jimmy Miranda, the Timmy Whites, Tony Chimmel and Mike Chioda, and Jimmy Corderas. That whole group was just a fun group in those very early days, and nice people who were wrestling fans that grew up and got to live their dream. It was nice.
How about President Jack Tunney? Did you have any interactions with him during his short term there?
I did photo shoots with him, and I had to deal with Jack because Jack would take care of the Canadian shows up there. So I was doing production, so I had to work with Jimmy Corderas and all their crews to get to their towns and work with stuff. He was a great promoter. He reminded me a lot of Vince's dad. Very old school, prim and proper gentleman, guy you can handshake to his word, and he was a nice guy, and he did an awesome job up in Toronto and in Canada promoting those towns. He was a great promoter.
Referee Joey Morella.
Joey was great. Joey, once again, go back to those old days of when I first started, that just one fun person to be with. I mean, girl's son, and awesome referee. And it was sad when, he passed away in that car accident. And I think that one of the reasons, I think all of us he was traveling after a show. We always traveled after a show. And I think that's made everyone step back and go, we got to rethink this. And, we safety first, because, you have to take care of your people and stuff. And that's why we went to buses and trying to one of my goals always trying to book towns when I was booking ring crews, because Ed would book the town and I would have to book the ring crew, and I would always have to look at, like, if these guys are doing a show and they're finishing up at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they're going to load out, even if it's just a ring in those days, they still got to travel 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you wanted them to do it at night. You didn't want them to do it in the daytime, because, if they overslept, what if the truck didn't start, and they've got to be in a town and 3 hours away, and it's 3.5 hours from now.
Right.
You want them to. So one of the things I went with when I took over event operations was we got the sleeper cabs on the truck, so they could actually legally drive that and have team drivers where they could sleep in there. One could drive and one could sleep, and they would alternate. And I'd always tried to make the towns drivable for these guys, and I tried to give them the respect that they deserved. I mean, these guys were the hardest working people there, and couldn't always do it. Sometimes I was able to do stuff, and sometimes I wasn't. But I always try to give them the respect that they earned. All those guys, all the early ring crew guys, and the guys that are in there now are doing all those events. There's a lot of respect for them.
The Hitman, Bret Hart.
Bret was fun. Yeah, Bret was. He was, talk about another family. I mean, the Harts. I mean, come on, that's wrestling family. That's hierarchy there. I got a chance to go up there and do some photo shoots with Bret up in Calgary and up in that area. And Bret was always fun to shoot. I mean, he was very colorful, very dedicated. Another person. I really appreciate the guys that knew their gimmick. Because in the photographer, you're not trying to create stuff. Usually, you're trying to capture their gimmick.
Sure.
And if they knew what they wanted, and you could translate that into a picture, is a win-win for both. And Bret was one of those ones that knew his gimmick and was fun to photograph.
And we'll end it with Sergeant Slaughter.
Like, that was my original. That was first. I saw him at first show that I went to before I was even a wrestling fan. And the first one I worked with, I loved that gimmick. With the camouflage limousine, the whole works. In fact, we used to, in the early days of the magazine, we would actually my wife was involved in helping him set up the circulation. They would actually stick labels on the magazine, print them out and stick the labels on the magazine and take them down in bundles to the Greenwich post office in Andre's limos, at which park. Wow. So I think we had big enough to do it. But he was wonderful to work with. And another guy that, boy, when he snapped into that character, he was dead on. Yeah. It was just with his chin out and great worker in the ring, but fun doing promos with. And I took him to West Point. We did stuff, and it was good times. He's ultimate professional. He's still going strong. And he was great as a road agent too, as he got out of that and become one of the agents and the people involved in the office. Very creative to use people like that, their mind to help out the new generation continue on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for taking the time and kind of going back in time with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been fun to talk about those days. A lot of good memories, Joe.
Absolutely. For Steve Taylor, I'm Joseph Bruin, and this has been Overtime, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks, Joe.